Good morning. It's Friday, November 16th, 12th patron update, my second universe. Valkyrie of Desire, my novel. I'll be talking about that a bit. And Jabberwaki, the short story series that I'm going to finish up. I'll also do a few writing tips and give an update for the gaming session that happened. Maybe a little story story time and some writing tips. This next week, I'm taking some time off to take care of my family, and also I'll have some time to really dive into my writing. I'm planning, hopefully, to get 3 chapters of Valkyrie Desire churned out and up on Scribfile for editing, and the last 2 parts of Jabberwaki. So 5 things to be released, or to be up on Scribfile to be released. And probably the short stories will come out before next Friday, and then the chapters will take a little bit longer to move through the queue on Scribfile. But they'll be pushing, the Valkyrie Desire will be pushing to the halfway point for the novel, and Jabberwaki will be the last 2 parts, 4 and 5, and then maybe get a jump start on the next short story section, which will be, since the short stories are usually based on, or the flash fiction is usually based on what happens in the Roll20 virtual tabletop game session that I run, based in the same setting that I write my novels in. This little story update will relate, without much in the way of spoilers, because I do change a few things, creative license. So last video I mentioned an expectation, a hope, prayer to just destroy my players. It's a game. We're all there to have fun, and my fun was planned. My fun was to destroy, to smush. I had a huge, monstrous, funguloid, a siege creature intended to destroy castles. And in the darkness, beyond the player's sight, was a magic mushroom man who was just blasting. And then there was a whole bunch of, there was giant frogs that would swallow little mushroom man and spit him out, and they would explode. And it was, I had it all laid out. It was going to be devastating. They were going to suffer. And alas, and it's not normal D&D. I've nerfed the magic. It's not, they're not as potent. They can't just see in the dark. They can't just fly around. But things are limited. But there's a little bit of invisibility and a little bit of spider walking stuff. And so our monk martial artist, he had his spider walking gloves on, and he had a little invisibility ring that lasted long enough and was effective enough, and he was patient enough that he clambered around, and this is in a cavern with a huge ceiling, and he was unaware that the creatures he was fighting against had a special way of sensing even if you're invisible, but he was so far up they were out of range, and he took his time. He took multiple rounds to get into position, and as the magic mushroom man came into his sight, into the sight of the torch that he had thrown out earlier, he just maneuvered himself and just dropped down and went nuclear. Just dumped all his everything that he had in one action, and just took him out. Took out the magic mushroom man. Just ended him. The player Jacob didn't have much else. Didn't any reserves after that round, but it was enough. He took him out, and it just so happened that that was the weakness that I had built in because I felt like, I don't want to make it too overwhelming. It's not fair. There's got to be a weakness, got to be something. Anyway, that's what it was. So he took him out and depowered the siege, virtually unbeatable monster, and then it was just a mop up. I mean, there was some fun moments when the Spider-Man, oh, Excelsior, Stanley, uh, they're a race of spider men, but I did do a little Excelsior thing in honor of Stanley's life. Apologies to Jack Kirby, but they have a like a guillotine thing they spit out. It's I'll change it for the short story because it's D&D straight import. But yeah, I'd renamed. I forget what the original name of the monster was. Anyway, they had fun at my expense, knowing that best laid plans, and so it's a game. Next time, ha ha. Yeah, I got him a little bit because they got some treasure. They got some gauntlets of water walking, which only work on their hands, and they can walk across the water on their hands. Yeah, there's a reason. There's a story reason. It's not just yeah. But so let's see. Writing tips. It's middle of National Novel Writing Month, and I know people they want to get that flow and just write and just go crazy, but write better. Try to keep good habits. Try to push away bad habits. When I'm reading somebody's work, when I read a lot of other people's work on Scribble and I see a bunch of numbers, just stated numbers. Oh, okay, let's go. There's 30 minutes later. 6 foot blank tall, 40 feet away. It kind of pushes me out. I mean, sometimes it works, but if you can just describe someone's height or amount of time or distance in another way, like comparatively to the point of view character, comparatively to something else that's going on for time. Like I just try to avoid numbers. And then the other thing, in a similar vein, this is all about. I mean, you want readers to work, but in the way of filling in the blanks, of using their imagination to help with immersion, for them to kind of recreate the story in their head. You don't want them to work where they're keeping track of numbers and names and proper names. So if you're packing, especially early scenes, early chapters, first few paragraphs, if you're packing a bunch of names in there, like nicknames make it a little easier, but proper names, it's just too much to remember. You can, if you have to have a bunch of people, relate them. If they're a sister or their brother or a friend, relate them to the point of view character. You don't have to name them all at that moment. And then I'll just a short thing I told my son as he was trying to get him to sleep. I don't always do a complete story with him, and I just did imagine being in another world, excavating, trying to find a city that had been buried in sand. And in my setting, I've got 5 kind of primal worlds. Well, it's actually called Primal World, but I was talking about the desert world that's kind of related to Magic the Gathering with the color red. And I just had him with his favorite character, CK, going out with a group to Desert World and just trying to find and then excavate this city that had been covered over thousands of years, but just buried in sand, and just that expressing that concept to him, trying to get that scene locked down without a complete story. It's kind of why I've grown to appreciate flash fiction. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you on Black Friday. Yeah.